Okay, this is a serious question I've got for you now. Would you ever be friends with someone who named their child after a herb? If you don't have a soul, like an empathetic soul that's loving and connected to God and to other people, what have you got left to sell? You've got left to sell and ass.
But Musk and this woman, Ashley St. Clair,
Yes.
Somebody tweeted something to the effect of, what is it with men and crazy women?
My sister says to me all the time that men are stupid and women are crazy, and I think it's a good like, live by that mantra and you'll be fine. But it is incredible, the biology aspect of it, that men just go like, your name is, hi, my name is Jeff. What's your name? Jezebel Beelzebub. Delilah. Oh, that's nice. You're so hot. Do you want to get married? Welcome to an episode of WTF. Well, the Taunton and Fox is happening with you today, Larry. And don't do that. Don't do that. Don't start like that. This is not, I know you're angry with me because I'm
letting people see the beautiful view behind me.
So
they can see the beautiful city of Rome behind me. People like that. Look at that. Look at how gorgeous that is.
Much. They love your jumper, my friend.
And can you hear the singing in the background?
Is it Free Palestine, Free Palestine? Because if it isn't, I'm not interested.
It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. But we're finally recording an episode of WTF. I'm in Rome. Lawrence is in London. No. You're not. Well, you're outside of London. You're not far from London. And yes, an episode of WTF. So what's on your mind today?
Oh, you don't even want to go into what's on my mind today. Oh, goodness. What's on my mind today? Why don't you start with what's on your mind today, and then I'll censor the parts.
I think it'd be better to start with what's on your mind.
That the entire British family court system should be completely ripped open. That it should no longer be anonymous. That there should be no private proceedings in the family court. That the family court should be treated in exactly the same way as a criminal court should be treated. That it's not done on the balance of probability. It's done beyond reasonable doubt, to stop psychopathic, narcissistic women exploiting the British court system, wasting time because they hate men. That's what's on my mind.
I'm guessing that you're drawing this from some kind of, maybe personal experience.
No, not at all. It's a general view. It's a generally held view.
This is just something. It's a headline you saw that got you a little upset. Is that right?
Yeah. What I did was I just looked at it and I thought, hang on. So wait, you've got this system whereby everything is anonymous, so any allegation can be made but not proved. And then
today you woke up and you said, family courts, there needs to be a change in family courts, and this is going to be my cause celeb. This is going to be the thing that Lawrence Fox is known for. It's not drawn from any kind of personal experience. It's just because you thought, this is the battle I'm going to fight. I'm going to wage this war. I'm going to win it for all of the people, the innocent people out there who are being dragged through the family court. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, I tell you what, because I do speak on the family court and have spoken on the family court before, I get contacted by a lot of people who are going through the rigmarole of the family court, and I have a theory which is developing, and I think it's a fairly solid theory, which is there's a reason why prisons are very, very overpopulated with men. And one of the reasons why prisons are overpopulated with men, not overpopulated, but it's vastly overrepresented by men, is the fact that when men have problems, what they do is they walk outside and they shoot someone, or they kill them, or they stab someone, or whatever they do. Men just go, oh, must do damage, and women don't have that sort of. I mean, unless you watch Hollywood films where women can beat up anyone nowadays in the new Hollywood movies, but women traditionally have not had that power. Of being able to sort of physically assault someone, even though they do on a regular basis. If you read half of my inbox or go through any of my own personal experiences, but that's nonetheless what women do is they use their minds, they use their sort of snarky little brains to try and do as much possible damage as they can to their children, because
Gloria's sitting over here. She's sitting
because
over
they
here.
don't care. So they just go, oh, I don't care. I'll whatever weapons at hand, and if it happens to be a child, it happens to be a child. And I'd like to reiterate that I'm not speaking from direct personal experience. I'm talking broadly about the family court system. And I'll tell
Philosophically, hypothetically,
because the family court system is by its very nature anonymous, I would have to speak about it anonymously and philosophically,
of course.
because that's the way. So what I love about the whole system, and why I've decided that it really needs to be torn apart, is basically it is where you and I have had a conversation about the fact that feminism is the beginning of wokeism. Wokeism came from feminism, and nowhere is feminism more prevalent in family courts, where women have turned around and gone, you know what, I'm not really up for the vows that I took against you. And not only am I not up for the vows I took against you, I'm going to have other lovers, and then I'm going to take the children off you as well, because I'm angry with you. And I don't care about their feelings or your feelings. And the number of messages I get in my inbox from fathers every day. I have a guy called Broken Dad who follows me on social media. There's a load of people that follow me who share their daily stories. And I just happened to encounter one of them today. Of a guy that is just, and they're in despair, and you go, there's a reason why is what got me fired from GB News. There's a reason why suicide is the biggest killer of men under 50 in the UK, because there is no system to defend fathers and defend men, and therefore defend children who are the next generation of men and women against this sort of narcissistic personality disorder that seems to be much more prevalent in females than males. I mean, well, maybe men just use it to like run Apple or own Amazon or something. Women just use it to destroy families, and you're just like, when do you get a grip? Anyway, yeah, that's what's going through my mind. I'm looking forward to the legal letter I'm going to receive.
Well, let's just label this our misogynistic rants episode.
Yes.
Because as men, you have to have those every now and then. It's somewhat cathartic, isn't it? And let's just say this: men and women, it's not just having a vagina or a penis that makes you a man or a woman.
We all know that, Larry. We all know that. You can be a woman with a penis and a man with a vagina. We all know that.
No. That's not where I was going. God has made men and women very differently. Our brains work very differently. We're wired emotionally very, very differently. And it's been our observation, throughout my whole life, but particularly as a parent of 3 boys and 1 daughter, is that they also fight differently. Men typically, they get mad at each other, they throw a few fists, and then they go and have a beer. That's it's the way it was with me growing up, whether it was with my brother or it was with my friends. We might get frustrated with each other. We might be playing a game, where we're competing with each other, and it might even come to fists, but it was never prolonged. You know what I mean? You had it out, and then you were done with it, and you sort of move on. Women play kind of 3-dimensional chess. You think, this is very funny. I was watching some guy, it was a show like Dr. Phil or something. Maybe you saw it, but it was going around on social media, but I thought it was brilliant. And it was some kind of counseling guru. And I thought he's going to say something idiotic. But a woman from the audience was asking the question. She said, I really wish my husband, that he would listen to me more, that he was a little more sensitive, that he wouldn't wait for me to ask him to do things, but he would clean up the kitchen, without me having to ask, and pick up his laundry without me having to ask, and, would take me to a romantic dinner without me having to ask. And this guy said, which I thought was hysterical, he said, well, first of all, you need to realize that you married a man. And you need to understand that you married a man, and he will want to please you, But if you tell him everything's okay, he's going to believe that everything is actually okay.
Yeah.
And if you want a romantic dinner, you need to tell him that.
Yeah.
And if you want him to clean up the kitchen, you need to tell him that. He will probably want to please you, but men are actually fairly simple creatures and they need instructions. And if you give it to them, they will. And there's a lot of truth to this. There's much truth to this. And God designed men and women to function very differently. And one of those ways is the ways in which we wield power. Men are physically stronger. The average man is twice as strong as the average woman, has twice the lung capacity of the average woman. But I would say women wield power through influence, very influential. And I think that can be both of those through men. And, if you think about it, I mean, a biblical example is Samson, who was, physically a beast, but he was conquered by the influence of an evil woman. And, those things that God has given us can be used for good or they can be used for bad and for evil. And it sounds like what you're talking about with the family court and some of the things that are happening in British laws, which I'm not acquainted with at all, other than what you report to me, are some of the ways that that's done. And that's very tragic.
Yeah, I think it's true. The only sort of the way one would obviously kind of modify a situation where perhaps women played 3D chess with a man would be to make it open and transparent and to make both parties accountable for the various things they say and do, because that's would seem to me to be in the best interest of the children, so that you de-escalate conflicts by if you allow people to tell secrets. What's one of the things we tell our kids? Don't tell secrets. We don't have secrets in this house. That
Yeah.
You say that because we know, in the same way as people don't call their daughters Delilah that often, we know,
Jezebel.
Yeah, we know that. We know that.
So, son, who's the girl you're dating now? Well, her
Jezebel.
name is Jezebel Delilah Smith.
Jezebel Delilah Beelzebub. She comes from a lovely family.
She's wonderful.
She's an orphan from a single parent home. She came from
and
she's very, very, very hot. She doesn't say much, but she agrees with everything I say.
Have you seen, by the way, I have to ask you this real question on this topic, but Musk and this woman, Ashley St. Clair,
yes.
Somebody tweeted something to the effect of, what is it with men and crazy women? And do you think that's a real thing?
Yeah, I was talking to Lizzie on the walk this morning when we were walking the dog, and I was telling her about my friend who's going through this difficult situation, and she said to me, "This is the problem with men."
But Lizzie's a very sensible woman.
Yeah, but she also understands men.
She's also actually crazy.
No, but I mean, my sister says to me all the time that men are stupid and women are crazy, and I think it's a good like live by that mantra and you'll be fine. But it is incredible the biology aspect of it, that men just go like, your name is, hi, my name is Jeff. What's your name? Jezebel Beelzebub. Delilah. Oh, that's nice. You're so hot. Do you want to get married? It's like, why has God implanted this thing where men just like put away, that line there, from As Good as It Gets, when she goes to Jack Nicholson, you write women so well. How do you do it? And he says, well, I just write a man and I take away logic and accountability.
That's one of Lori's favorite movies.
It's such a good
right there. But it's 100%. It's 100% true. And and here's Musk, a highly intelligent guy, and he has had these seriously crazy women in his life. I mean, Amber Heard, who is certifiably nuts. And then, this Ashley St. Clair chick who all of a sudden is suing him. And who knows how many others there are out there. Lawrence, I have to ask you, maybe this is too personal a question, but You just strike me as a guy that would never have any crazy women in your life.
Not anymore. I don't know. I don't know. Well, actually, I do still, but not through will or desire. Look, just I want to be serious and grown up. What is it in men? Like, it can't be good for. Okay, let's take Darwin out of it because Darwin can do one. But at what point was God just like going, "This will be fun. This will be fun. I'm going to put a little bit in males' brains that just it finds any hot chick irresistible." Is it a what is it? And why are the hot chicks? Also, why are the hot chicks always like if there was a graph, the fuck around and find out graph versus like crazy and hot or hot and crazy?
Yeah, that's right.
Why? Yeah. Why is it? Why are the hot chicks very heavily overrepresented in the crazy category as well? These are the biological. Are you a biologist? Do you identify as a biologist? And can you answer my question? That's all I want to know.
I tend to think that if you think about people like, let's just say in Ashley St. Clair, let's just take two, for instance.
Let me look this further.
You don't know it. You don't know any others, but let's just say Ashley St. Clair or an Amber Heard, both of whom are Amber Heard is crazy and Ashley St. Clair is starting to show herself to be crazy. I think that women often who are like that are very overtly sexual. And the result is that men fall for that because they believe it. They buy into it. Does that make sense?
Sorry, I'm just looking at a picture of Ashley St. Clair and I'm like, okay, you look crazy.
Yeah, well, but here's a woman who is going around, you see, and she goes around talking about if you can find a photo of her where she wears, Lori, what's that thing called? A corset. A corset.
You're so quaint. What's that thing called, Lori? A corset.
Well, I don't know what the women's called all their clothes, but here she is. She's supposedly, very big on family values and that sort of thing, and yet her profile picture or one of her major pictures that she's always putting out there of herself is she's wearing a corset and, cleavage and this kind of thing, very overtly sexual. And I think men are attracted to that semi-wholesome, not so much appearance.
It's the perfect storm. It's like,
it's the perfect storm.
So in the head, men are going like, I know you're not wholesome, but I really, really, really want you to be.
I really want to believe you.
I want to believe you. And then
I just want you to be my whore.
And then when the crazy one, when they turn out to be crazy, the men just go, "Why? I could never have. There were no signs. I couldn't tell." All along, whenever she was wearing the corset, I just thought, "Oh God, you're so 17th century."
Jezebel never gave me any indications that she was nuts.
We all like sex dungeons. I mean, they're wholesome.
Yeah, I think the women like that. They tend to be overtly sexual. You're not allowed to say this towards women, but fairly
I've got a theory. You've just given me an idea.
I want to hear it.
No. So here's the theory. If you don't have a soul, like an empathetic soul that's loving and connected to God and to other people, what have you got left to sell? You got left to sell tits and ass. And what you have, and then the smart one.
And what do men like?
Yeah. What do we like? We like long conversations about how your day was. We do not like bubble baths together while listening to Kanye West. So this is the answer to the question, which is the smart girls who go, Look, I've worked out that I'm a psychopath, but I'm a hot psychopath. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to study wholesome girls, and I'm going to convince, and I know the way to get the guy longer term is wholesome. But the way that I get him short term is tits and ass. So they do a kind of cunning bit of, it's a perfect storm. And every single man I've ever met, I've got a friend who's done this 3 times. No, hang on. Let me get it right. 1, 2.
So you're just calling me your friend now?
No, but I genuinely have a friend, and I bought.
I know a guy.
He got married. He got married, and then I met him up in London. He was living overseas. He said we were driving, and he said, "Can we just stop at like Phoenix or a department store?" He said, "I need to get my wife and my mistress something nice for Christmas." And I was like, "Oh, so how's the marriage going?" Was the next question. He was like, "Yeah, good. Yeah, fine. Love it. Yeah, excellent." And so he got his wife and his mistress some stuff. Cut to a couple of years later, he no longer has a wife, 3 children, but no wife. And he's now with his mistress, who has 3 children too. So he's now with his mistress, and he's just about to leave his mistress. So he's got 6, and his new Jezebel, Smith, Delilah, St. Clair is also batshit crazy. So, and he's never learned, but he takes a very philosophical view on it, which is like, well, here we are. Let's see what happens. And
I think that men look at a woman like that and go, I can fix
it. Is it the fixing, the mending?
I can fix
it. And what's the woman thinking?
Exactly. I mean, here's the thing. I don't know if you followed any of this, and I only have unwillingly because it pops up in my thread, but this stuff on Ashley St. Clair. Here she is now. We're supposed to think of her as a victim, but to me, this is a pattern. This fits with what we're talking about in terms of the crazy chick and the stupid man.
Yeah.
Because at least stupid in this regard, because she understood very well the terms of the arrangement. Okay, not a moral arrangement at all, but they're adults, consenting adults, no laws were violated. She understood she was basically being his concubine. That was it. And I'm sure she eagerly accepted that role because she wanted to up her game on social media. And the second thing she wanted to do was she wanted money, and she wanted a permanent link to Elon Musk. Musk thinks like a stupid man when she tells him that she understands and accepts, and that she's all excited for him to come over and for them to hook up. He stupidly believes she means it. This is where men are stupid. She says yes. He thinks, yeah, I believe that. And then they do this. And then what he then discovers, ex post facto, is no, she was never good with that. She was determined to bump off any other woman who might have supremacy in his life, because that was always the goal for her. And now he's going, what? I didn't see any of this coming.
But
she seems so wholesome in her corset.
He's done it 12 times.
12 times,
it's like
at least 13. Actually.
What about Blair White? Have you been following that one?
Never heard of Blair White.
Okay, so I just need to know the name of the other guy so I can get it right.
Is this like an English footballer thing?
No. Blair White is married to...
Is that a man or a woman?
She's married to Ryan Reynolds.
Right.
Oh,
no, you're talking about... What's that chick's name who's married to Ryan Reynolds? It's not Blair White.
Oh, no.
Blake Lively.
They all sound the same to me. Sorry, Blair White.
Well, she sounds also like she's nuts, too.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I've never met her. I want to be clear. I've never met her, but she sounds like she's in the Amber Heard category.
Yeah. Justin Baldoni is the guy. So apparently...
Yeah, that's right.
So this just is happening way too much. What
this is not a typical episode of WTF, people. I just want to let you know.
I know
we are never entertainment Hollywood, but today we are. Go ahead.
So she does a film with Justin Baldoni, which everyone knows well, which people who know about who don't. He seems like
Apparently they were in some kind of movie
Yeah,
together.
and she decided she was a victim in some way, and she tried to smear him. He then thought, I'm not going to take this, and fought back a bit. She got written negatively about in the press, and she continued to double down and get more and more angry, and he's now suing her for $400 million. She comes across as Amber Heard on... Why is this light doing this? Sorry, I've got to turn this off. She comes across like...
I'm smelling pizza. By the way, I just want to point out here that there are guys down here in this piazza here in Rome selling laser pointers. So if you see them on the wall or here, it isn't the Egyptian secret police trying to draw a bead on my head.
I was also thinking that this was going to be the episode where we were going to like really, go into what the new developments are. But let's stick with corsets and...
No, this is interesting. Corsets are endlessly interesting to me. I'm not even sure I know what they are, but they're supposed to hold you in.
They're meant to...
Lori's waving her hand like, don't say
They're
anymore.
meant to... corsets were designed to make the waist really thin and the bust really big, and to create...
So they're Spanx.
To create that... Yeah, they're a 17th, 18th century version of Spanx. And they were...
Spanx.
Well, they're the precursor to bras. I've done a lot of films where girls had to wear corsets, and they're very, very unpleasant things for girls to wear. You see actresses just lying around on the set going, oh God, this hurts. And you can't loosen it off because it's a real nightmare. It's like tying up the world's longest shoelace. It's incredibly annoying to deal with. But it was designed to really...
Elon Musk spent some time on unlacing
for the 13th time.
Anyway,
at what point was he going like, but this is illogical. Why am I here? This is the 13th time.
He was sure it all made total sense. And when she said she was happy to be his occupied, he believed it. And this is what we mean, ladies and gentlemen, where men are genuinely stupid about things like that. Men think that women mean what they say. And so frequently, women don't mean what they say.
Which takes you back to your point of going, I wish he would take me out to dinner without being asked. It's like, well, if you want to go out to dinner, just ask and I'll take you out to dinner. Lizzie and I have a battle over my bag when I travel. And it's an unspoken battle. There's no words, there's no shots fired in this war. But the bag stays, and she doesn't move it. It stays. And I stubbornly go, well, I'm going to leave it there too. And then after about 3 days, I just go, oh, I better go and pack it away. So it's my bag after all. So, and she wins. It's a victimless battle victory. That no one dies, but she won. That's the way you should fight these wars.
Well, I would say that the man cave was invented. My father, I think, invented the man cave, actually, and I think he should have franchised it, and he would have died a billionaire, and I'd have a much larger inheritance. But as it stands, the man cave was invented precisely because men don't win the arguments.
Yes. I've never won an argument against women. Or if I have won an argument against a woman, I felt bad for doing so.
And if you start to win, they start to cry, which means you lose in the end anyway.
Yeah, and then the only thing you can
apologize.
The only thing you can do is end them and bury them next to the other 12 in the garden. This one's going to really work out, Papa. I can tell. This one's called Delilah, Jezebel. She's real, real beautiful.
St. Clair. I like that. I like how you added St. Clair to the...
She loves me so much. She's best friends with Blair White, the actress. She's really, really, really...
Blair White. Blake Lively.
Oh, sorry, Blake. I don't know. They all sound the same. What's wrong with your country? Can you name women properly now? Do you think that should be part of your... You think that I'm taking the family court on. Do you think that what you should do is really reach out, instead of doing all this waste of time stuff you're doing about exposing government corruption? What you should really do is be trying to get American children named correctly.
I agree with you on this because, my children are named. Sasha, of course, was born in Ukraine, our adopted daughter. So Alexandra is her name, which is Sasha. How they get that is the abbreviated version is another conversation, but classical name. Christopher, Michael, Zachary, all classical names. And we did that deliberately because we wanted our children to not grow up with these trendy names, and where in any era, those are names that work, rather than having a name that everyone looks at on a roster and goes, ooh, I know when you were born. You know, I mean, they just know exactly because they're these trendy little names, you know, like Muhammad and Britain,
I was just about to say, like Muhammad. Okay, this is a serious question I've got for you now. Would you ever be friends with someone who named their child after a herb? I mean it.
Such as? Name
Sorrel.
one. Like Herb? I mean, there are people named Herb.
Yeah, Herb is a nice name. Okay, sorry, for the American audience, Herb. Would you ever name your child after, or would you be friends with someone who had two children called Willow and Sorrel?
I would immediately hear those names, and I would immediately hear that and go, your mother was a flower child, and she was smoking weed at the time that she named you. But thank God she didn't name you Moon Unit Zappa.
Well, I quite like Frank Zappa. He said the other day, that...
Moon Unit? You want to name your child Moon Unit?
I like, it's got a good ring to it. It works. I'm not, he said that politics is the entertainment arm of the military-industrial complex.
You know, people are going to say when they listen to the show that both of us were smoking weed when we recorded this show.
Yeah, but that's. I think it's good that we have a break from like digging into, you know, issues. And also, you've spoken to me today, and you know how pissed off I've been pretty much for the last 48 hours. So I'm using this as therapy,
which is starting to piss me off. But
yeah,
but we've gone in another direction there because I'm a man of self-control.
Okay,
so. We go into the direction. Back into the direction of men and women. Let's go back with that. Let's stick with that. With the chart.
Yeah.
With the chart. Let's talk about this from a man's perspective. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we bring you on WTF The View. This is The View. This is The View. This is the testosterone version of The View. So you're going to see the unvarnished versions of us. I have to say, if somebody were to ask you, would Lizzie say, or would you say of yourself that you understand women? No. Or would she say you understand women?
I've never asked her. But I gave up long ago because the problem with women is that you always end up with the question, why? And I have found that the why question is the one that takes you out into the garden, making the noose, throwing it over the low branch. And, you know, if you can't deal with why, because if you ask yourself why, you just go, that doesn't make any sense there. But if you end up doing the why, it's game over. So you don't really want to understand them other than to know, as you quite rightly point out, that we're different, and we're different for a reason. But what I was saying to you is why? What part of God's sense of humor goes, I just make them super hot, or is that the devil kicking in?
Well, I don't listen. There was a comedian, you know, when I was growing up, my parents watched named Flip Wilson, and he would always say the devil made me do it. I think that's a fair defense. I will defend the devil on this point. I think there's enough sin nature that resides in each of us to do all these things without the devil, but he is a convenient scapegoat. Listen, let's put this in a very positive light, because we're sitting here and we're saying we started with the family court, and there's some real brokenness there when we're talking about things like a Blake Lively, or, you know, just batshit crazy women like Amber Heard and some of these other people. However, God did create us different for a reason. And the fact of the matter is that even when we're not thinking it consciously, we're very aware of this. And if you think about it, you know, my children, when they really want to have a heart-to-heart conversation, they call their mother. And I think this is quite typical in families. They call their mother, Dad, I'm kind of like this, break glass in emergency. When I see, if I'm sitting with you and my phone rings and it's one of my boys, I'm going to be more inclined to say, Lawrence, hey, we need to take a break, because my boys never call me unless they need something. They need something. So for me, it's the conversation will start like, hey, Dad, how's it going on? What are things like in Rome? But I'm like, yeah. What's the real reason for the call? And I think that's fairly typical. When I was a boy, it was my mom that I went to with my dating issues or whatever. And my dad, I talked about sports, about politics, things like that. Or when I needed, something, I needed money or I needed his help for something. But my mother was who I went to, and I think that's fairly typical. And I think that even I noticed, I couldn't help but notice when I was in the hospital, for all that time, men were terrible empathizers. They would come and they would stand at the end of my bed and they would pace, sometimes very upset because they thought they were going to lose me, and they wanted to fix it. And that's because that's what we are. They want to fix it. They're ready to offer me inane advice that doesn't work. And women, but in fact, here's a classic example. A pastor came. I would have punched him in the face if my hand hadn't been broken also, but he was very well intentioned. And Lawrence, here I am. Picture this. I've got an oxygen mask on. My neck is broken. My back is broken. 51 broken bones. And I'm laying there in the bed and I'm fighting for my life. And he sits down with a Bible. I mean, I'm a Christian. And he says, I'm going to explain to you the 12 reasons why God is allowing you to suffer.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, what the hell? And he's went on and on and on. And I'm on oxycodone, Neurontin, and morphine, maximum doses all at the same time. And my face is smashed. And I say to Lori, get him out of here. Get him out of here. Now compare that with the women who would come and stroke my hair or hold my hand, or one woman who knew I loved her cakes. She sent a cake knowing I couldn't eat it, but she sent it just as an expression of love that said, we love you. And it's a fascinating thing, but women are naturally, and I know there are exceptions to this, but women are in maybe the what we're talking about here is an exception to this, but generally speaking, women are natural empathizers. They're much better caregivers. My wife is a wonderful caregiver. And if I'm broken again, I want a woman to take care of me. I don't want the men, because the men, they're good for doing certain things, moving your bed here or there or whatever, but they're terrible caregivers as a rule. And that's part of, we talk about it in the negative sense, but in the positive sense, that's one of the really, really wonderful things about the difference, the way God made us. And I noticed early on with my children, Lori and I'd be walking along and one of them fall and scrape their knee. They're running right past me to their mother, because at some point I'm going, okay, all right, you're fine. Yeah. And mom is over there going, oh, baby.
But then,
don't you agree with that?
I do. I think that's absolutely how it is. But why do we live in a society whereby there can be no criticism whatsoever of women and only huge amounts of criticism of men? And yet, if you sort of go up to 30,000 feet, you go, well, hang on. Women and men are different, but why does feminism need this extra little dose of, like, not we're equal, but also you're bad? So not only do I have the rights to work and do all the stuff and vote and all the things which incidentally weren't given to working class men in this country before the First World War, they were given to women first. But we make such a hoo-ha of the suffragettes in this country. Why does the modern paradigm have to be that men are somehow evil, bad, horrible people, and women are angels? And also, weirdly, the angels, the ones that they throw up to us in their little game of Aren't I a Wonderful Woman, are people like Amber Heard, who believed to herself so much that she was a victim of Johnny Depp's abuse that she would A, destroy his career, but B, sit in a courtroom so that anyone with, even the vaguest sense of self-knowledge and therefore, an understanding of how other people behave goes psycho. Where does that come from? Why are we holding up, in the same way as we hold George Floyd up as a great example of, a black martyr who died, in the service of trying to bring about racial equity? I've got to read you this paragraph of this thing just because it drives me nuts. I got this from my school today, and I read it to Calvin, but I'm going to read it to you too because I want to hear your response to it. It drives me, it absolutely drove me nuts. And it's the same sort of thing.
This is regarding one of your children.
No, this is just a general email sent from the school. This is one of the paragraphs. Following the pandemic, the world witnessed the death of George Floyd and the impact it had on the issue of racial equity, the acceleration of the climate crisis, increasing scrutiny over the role of technology that technology plays in our lives, and community affected by conflicts around the world. I'm like, I fucking pay you people. I literally pay you people. Why are we holding up like George Floyd, climate crisis, same thing? Amber Heard, world's most wonderful woman. It's like, no, they're not. The wonderful women are Laurie and Lizzie, and the as you say, the overwhelming majority. But the people that we're putting on pedestals in 2025 are the worst examples of humanity. I get the fact that if it bleeds, it leads, and that's the nature of the news cycle. But you never read about the great fireman. You never read. The last time I heard a man spoken about positively was Sully, the pilot who hit those pigeons or ducks before landing on the Hudson in New York. That was the last time I heard anyone say anything nice about a man that I can remember.
I think your point's a good one. I also think the pendulum is starting to move in the other direction because people did ultimately see that Amber Heard is a horrible human being. They're clearly seeing that Blake Lively is too, and it's cluing people into the fact that sin nature has affected all of humanity, infected all of humanity, and not just one sex. And it's sex, by the way, not gender. It's sex, and it's so men and women have been equally infected by evil and are equally capable of it. They just express it usually in very, very different ways. And so I think things are starting to move in another direction. But as for why, I mean, I had to read, obviously, as getting degrees in history, the Communist Manifesto, but I reread it again a couple of years ago because of all that was going on in the culture, wanted to refresh my mind. And one of the startling lines in that, it's not very big, the Communist Manifesto, it's like 90 pages, 100 pages. He says, just abolish the family. And so the idea was to destroy all power structures, to destroy all existing pillars of society. And Marx rightly identified that the number one pillar of society wasn't the military. It wasn't the government. It was the family unit, which was based on patriarchy. Positively, by the way, I don't mean that negatively, based on, strong males leading and providing for and protecting their families. And so you better believe that so much of our media, so much of our culture, so much of our government, so many people in Hollywood and elsewhere, whether they've ever read the Communist Manifesto or not, even heard of Karl Marx, they've all been infected by that. And so they push that kind of thinking. And hence, if you were a man who was accused of, say, sexual discrimination or harassment or something like that, during the height of the whole Me Too movement, you're just done. You're just done. And maybe to some extent you still are. I don't know. But I do think that it's starting to move, at least in our country, maybe not in yours yet, but in our country, I think the pendulum, if the pendulum should be here and it went to here, I think it's now, it's still in the wrong direction, but I think it's starting to come back. I think so. Do you sense that?
I think it's inevitable that it does, and I'm very encouraged by all of the noises coming out of America in regards to this sort of thing, and Vance's thing about the family and all of this stuff,
which was powerful,
which was really, really powerful. Everything he said has been very, very powerful. I think it will swing back, but I also, I live in the UK where it's just getting worse and worse and worse. So we're going in the complete opposite direction. I wasn't massively encouraged by the fact that the AfD come in second in a PR country like Germany, and so the Christian, their so-called centre right do a deal with the non-centre right to keep the actual people, the demos, from being represented. I think that's really bad. So we've had a lot of conversations about how people get represented, how one is represented, and you quite rightly point out that the family. Marx singled out the family as being the most dangerous way of passing wisdom between generations, because he quite rightly did that. But until you have families, it works both ways, right? So in the UK, I think in sub-Saharan Africa, the IFR rate is 6.6. Now, I know that the mortality rate is going to be much larger. In the UK, the rate of the IFR rate in Islamic communities is between 2.6 and 3, and in for want of a worse word to use to our indigenous friends, the IFR rate amongst the indigenous community is about 1.6. So we are all of our values, or everything is going. All of this stuff is going to be done in like a generation or two. And I sort of sit there and I go, well, I love what Viktor Orban's done, and he's turned around and said, right, you're not going to pay income tax. No woman who has 2 children will pay income tax. It's almost a patriarchal way of saying you've done your job. You've replaced for the next generation. I'm putting about 12 different thoughts together, but you sort of see in what direction I'm headed.
Yeah, no, it's coherent. Yeah. I understand what you're saying. Well, I am smelling pizza, and my wife
wants it.
Has been very patient with me. It's almost 9 p.m.
here.
It is. And so I need to take her out to eat.
Go and feed her.
She has been
let me see her face.
Watching me, and then I have to go to yet another one after this. But love you, love to Lizzie.
Love you too, but love to both of you.
Let's. I don't mind saying this on here. Let's talk tomorrow offline and catch up and see what's going on in your life and mine. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, let's get this thing posted. But did I start us? Did you start us?
I did.
Whose turn is it?
I started.
Okay, let's hear how you end this, particularly the view.
Thank you for joining us again for conversations deep about spiritual, cultural, and ethical questions to do with the nature of existence. At no point did Larry and I consume drugs during the conduct of this interview, and no animals were hurt, and neither of us are going to seek imminent and immediate psychiatric help. Thank you for joining us. This has been WTF, the world according to Jezebel and Delilah.